A little bit of spoilers for our recap of what's happening.
They've already participated in so much.
Aim assist was too strong right there. $80,000 was on the line.
It's pretty disrespectful. Like, come out and be like, I don't even think your DPS got it, bro.
Hello and welcome to the Esports Meta. I'm your host, Billy Sims, back after a week off. We had a nice vacation to try to soak up that summer sun, but we're here to talk about all the latest topics in competitive gaming and video game news. Today, we've got quite a big episode for you. A lot to catch up on. Like I said, we were off last week, so we're recapping the last 2 weeks of EWC, the Esports World Cup. That includes Overwatch World Cup tournament. That includes Apex Legends. Both were exciting and maybe not what you totally expected. We'll be running down those tournaments, doing the recap, some meta breakdowns as well. Beyond that, we're looking forward to the next couple weeks. We got Street Fighter 6 happening this week. Fortnite as well, competing at the Esports World Cup, one of the biggest tournaments of the year for both games. And then finally, we're going to round out, so make sure you stick around for the episode. We're going to be rounding out with some LCK drama you might have already heard, but then we'll also be doing some LCS summer split predictions. We'd love to know what your thoughts on all this stuff, so if you're tuning in, let us know, discuss in the comments, chime in on the chat, hit us up on social media. You can follow us at the Esports Meta on any of your favorite socials. But without further ado, I'm already talking a lot. I'm gonna need some help in talking with some people, so let's do that by bringing in my co-host with the most, Nick Layton. How you doing, Nick?
I'm chilling, man. You can talk for the rest of the time. That's chill.
Perfect, dude. I'm just gonna monologue, like villain monologue, this entire time, and don't get me started on Star Wars, dude. Just don't get me started.
All right, yeah, let's go.
All right, somehow we're gonna get this episode started, and pretty straightforward. If you're listening in, you might have already been watching in. We've got a lot of cover this week. Over the last 2 weeks, Nick, what would you want to highlight as we enter our subject matter today, as we enter our episode, and what things are you excited about to talk about? What things you want to point out before we get started, get rolling?
The thing that I'm excited about, man, is to basically seeing how the pick and ban phases turned out for Overwatch. Like that's my most interesting thing for this one. I really enjoyed how that panned out.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely a part of the conversation overall. It's definitely something we were leaning heavily into beginning. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen, what to expect, because this is the first major competition, but we'll be diving into some of the specific meta implications from that. I think I'm looking forward to talking about Street Fighter and Fortnite. I'm excited about Overwatch. I'm excited about League, but we talk about those all the time. Not getting to talk about Street Fighter and Fortnite as much, it kind of leaves me like wanting to talk about them. So here's an opportunity today. Later in the episode, we'll be talking about those, kind of predicting and scoping out what to expect and what the format of the tournament is going to be for those tournaments at EWC. But if you're ready for it, man, let's get started. How about it?
Always ready, bro. Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to start off this episode on our first topic. It's just an overall recap of EWC, the Esports World Cup. And we're going to start with the club championship points. We've been keyed in onto this for the last few weeks because we found this to be the most exciting part of the tournament, perhaps. Maybe that's just my words. Nick might not agree. But we've got 2 weeks worth of points to update you on through this overall challenge. And straightforward, the leaderboard's right here. Team Falcons with a commanding lead at 4,100 total points. They've had a lot of representation in a bunch of different games that have competed so far, but that also means that Team Falcons has shown up and showed out to get these points.
I think they're cheating. I think they're using esports enhancement drugs in order to get all these points, because they're like, they're over double. They're over double everybody else, man. Yeah, they've been really we'll say on fire, right? Like absolutely on fire, going through a whole tear through everybody else.
Yeah, here's the full board here. We got Team Liquid coming in number 2, and they're not even close at 1,400 points, nearly 1,500 points. It is what it is, but like as far as medals go or trophies go, they're not really far behind. It's really the difference of like what 2 golds, 1 silver here. Those different. I can't remember the word. Point values. There we go. The difference of those point values really are just 2 gold medals. Like that's kind of wild to me, and like it could really be anybody's prize pool or win at the end of this tournament.
Definitely. I mean, you know, there's a lot of other games going, but you know, Team Liquid's probably sitting there going like, well, like at least we got trophies in like some good games, right? Like they got Dota, they got silver and Dota over Team Falcons because Team Falcons only has bronze, right? And you know, League is a better game than Honor of Kings for sure. Stuff like that. But you know, they didn't really do too well. Like Liquid didn't perform in Apex Legends where, you know, Team Falcons did. They got silver. So like that's a good chunk of points right there. You know, that's like 500 something points difference just from one game.
A little bit of spoilers for our recap of what's happened in Apex, but if you've already seen it, you might have already been spoiled. But you're absolutely right. Like, it's going to be interesting to see which teams coming forward with the different games, which games matter more. Here's a list of all the games that Team Falcons is competing in, which I think is a big thing to note because you could just be a one trick and just have one team competing in one game. But like Team Falcons is almost to the end of their little reign here, or what is it? No, okay, that's
what they played.
This is where they've placed. No, you're right. This is where they've placed.
Yeah, they've already played those ones, which is like crazy, right? When you think about it, like they've already participated in so much.
Well, I guess, taking what I was saying and kind of pivoting it a little bit, I think it's still true. They've already, like you said, they're already competed in so much. Dota, Free Fire, Apex, MLBB, like what other organization has this kind of representation across the board? We could take a look and see how Team Liquid is, but like by comparison, they've only got 6 games competed in, whilst Falcons this is like 10? Do some quick counting.
20 games.
11.
That's how many games they're participating in. 20 games.
Right, so they might have hedged their bets pretty early for this part of the tournament. There's 11 of them already competed in. They've placed in 7 of them so far. So some good representation. So 7 out of 11, roughly 60-something%. And then they have another 9 to go. And, you know, those 9 games could be pretty substantial. We have a lot of big stuff happening like Fortnite and Street Fighter, which we'll talk about in a little bit later. But then you also have stuff like, what was it? Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but we already did Free Fire. We already did Warzones. We already did Dota. We're talking... Sorry.
So I did just it's all good. I did just realize something. Team Liquid has no ability to take first place away from Team Falcons. They only have 3 more games that they're participating in. That's it. 3 games. If they win gold, they get 3,000 points. That's 4,500 points almost. Like there's no shot. Like there's no shot. There's still. What is this? How many games did I say this was? I don't know. I know they have 20, but it's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
11.
9,
They've
10,
competed
11.
in 11 already.
Yeah. 9 more games. They got triple the amount of games left to try to get like 1 gold. Right? Like one silver makes it so that Team Liquid does not take first place. And I could look at every other team that's participating if I really wanted to do this, but there's not. I already looked before. Not many are competing in 20 events, man. Like we noticed this before. Like Team Falcons has so many opportunities for those points.
Right. And like with those opportunities, they seem to be putting up like they've gotten 2 golds, they've gotten 2 silvers and 3 bronzes so far. So like they're not just fielding teams for the heck of it. They're fielding teams that are placing. And can you say that about other organizations? They might have just, like I said, been ahead of the curve for this part of the Esports World Cup. which I think might be one of the more exciting parts of it. Maybe less so knowing that like they've got 9 more teams to go. They have a statistical lead that to overtake Team Liquid, which is their closest rival. But like in theory, you would need Gaming Gladiators to have 4 other games and place first in those 4 other games to even like compete with Team Falcons now. So they're a little bit ahead, well, not a little bit, they're a lot ahead with a lot to happen. And like, I think it is going to be a name of the game of quantity, like a quality quantity, where they are fielding a lot of teams, but those teams are going to be competitive. And like, are we going to see that from T1? I think T1's a one trick though with just League. So like bad random example.
Yeah, like T1 plays in all Riot games. So they have team tactics.
That's what I meant, man. T1's coming in. Teamfight Tactics is coming up, which is another kind of big one.
Tekken.
And Tekken, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the part we're gonna have to keep. That's the part we're going to have to keep an eye out for, how the teams are able to stand up, because right now Team Falcons is running away with it, but there is the possibility the rest of the games Team Falcons can shit the bed and somebody else places gold consistently perhaps. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Nick, if you were to give just a random dark horse guess, and maybe the same with our chatters out there, what kind of vibe or thinking, who would you be rooting for in this top 10 selection? We do have a crazy 5-way tie for 5th place here, but who would you want to see come out, if it's even not even if on this list, of just who's competing to take over first place?
I want Team Liquid to stay at number 2, because I know they're not going to be able to take first, as I just found out and discussed. I just don't want them to drop to 4th or below. But I just looked. Team Falcons probably just taking this.
Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few different things. If you enjoyed the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out and it tells the algorithm to share it with more people. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast or hang out, play games, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Threads, or Twitter if you use Threads. Does anybody use Threads? This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports, so jump into the conversation. Of course, you can find more videos like this here on YouTube. Just hit that subscribe button right there or there. Thanks for watching, and let's get back to the show.
Like I just looked for more teams that had more games to play, and unfortunately, tears come to my eye. No one's beating Team Falcons. They're taking that prize pool.
It's an interesting strategy that's panned out. Who knows if it's on purpose or by accident, or if Team Falcons just is one of the largest organizations internationally, one of the organizations that it's affiliated with the esports scene in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, which has its roots for EWC, so that could probably be a big reason why they kind of knew what was coming, knew what to expect, and were able to kind of show the way. Now that other teams can kind of catch on that the prize pools are there, we might see an organization sort of led competition, especially with the Olympics picking up esports as well. We're definitely into Olympics fever right now, but I'm kind of at a loss of words beyond that. It's basically a race to see who can catch up to Team Falcons or who's going to fight for 2nd and 3rd place, really.
Yeah, no, the 2nd and 3rd place will be nicely competitive. And that's where we got to look, probably wishful thinking if anybody thinks they're going to take first place away from Team Falcons.
Right. And like you said, it might just be a statistical impossibility at this point, but we'll keep you updated. So stay tuned to us. Keep us, subscribed, liked, all the internet things. Chime in your thoughts. Which team do you want to see maybe take 2nd or overtake maybe one day, if not this day, Team Falcons. But with that, we're going to move into the rest of EWC stuff, and more specifically, our first topic, we're going to be talking about Apex Legends tournament at EWC. And conveniently enough, Team Falcons is one of the teams competing this past weekend at Apex Legends. We also had Crazy Raccoon, Twisted Minds. There was a ton of teams, a ton that you're familiar with, a few others that you're less familiar with, but that's not a problem. These guys all competed here for the prize pool in group stages and then in final standings places. Very exciting matches, very exciting tournament. Apex has had a bit of a turbulent moment. We'll talk a little bit more about devs responding to allegations or concerns about auto aim on controllers. We'll talk about that in just a second, just to tie it in. But you know, here's a list of all the teams. Like I said, it's a large group of combatants, competition here. They went from overall Group A, Group B, and then into last chance knockout rounds, and boy was it close. We can break down all the specifics with it, but you know, I'll leave it for you guys if you're looking to dive into Apex Legends, because there's a lot of nuance that happens throughout a game, throughout a round, throughout a whole like group stage, that, you know, can't really be totally summed up just by me or my friend here, Nick here. So take a look at those VODs, take a look at those tournaments, and if you watched it, let us know your thoughts on it. But specifically, the exciting thing was going into the final day, this was neck and neck. There were 12 teams who were in the running to take first place. Ultimately, actually, I'm not going to spoil that just yet. So it started with group stages. The 40 teams were split into two different groups of 20 that competed in different games. Top 9 were would advance, etc. 10 through 19 had a last chance, like a play-in sort of situation. And that's where we saw a lot of the competitive nature come in, a lot of the just the pureness of battle royales, just kind of fight it out, and then that was it. But going into the finals on the last day, the last remaining 20 teams, like I said, 12 of them were in position to hit the final point mark. 60 points. The first team to hit 60 points would secure first place and win the tournament. And 12 separate teams were in that running. And as you can kind of see, Alliance was able to pick out the win, push forward, and come away with $600,000 first place prize. Team Falcons then represented there in second place, which, you know, surprise, surprise, we're already talking about, and Luminosity in third place here. Nick, I've already spoken a lot. Have you seen a little bit of this? I know you were on vacation. I was on vacation. Did you get to jump in, chime in, or is your attention focused on the overall Olympics and not just the esport Olympics?
No, I mean, I watched a little bit of it. Like over the last week, you're 100% right. My family kept me glued into the Olympics. Like that's all I've been doing for like the last week. So I watched highlights for the most part. And you know, it looked great, man. Like it looked like a lot of fun overall, and a lot of like really, really cool stuff just to watch in general. I was really excited over the highlights.
Right. I did much of the same, watching really a lot of highlights, but that kind of keyed in a little bit more from Saturday into Sunday for the grand finals day, for the finals day. Because like I said, there was 12 separate teams that were within contention there for the final day. Let me see if I can pull up the specific point value for that finals point distribution. There we go. Oh man, it is a jumbled mess. I might not be able to totally find here. But overall, Alliance coming away with 112 points finale. Team Falcons taking second place after it was Alliance who secured the 60 points first to make first place there. But you can see a lot of these point totals are fairly high and hit over that value. So where it was necessary to compete on that level. Man,
the overall stress of playing this in a battle royale, man. Like with all the points and stuff, that would just like stress me out. It's like you made the cut out of the top 9, and then you're just stressing out the whole entire time with like each game and each point. But having like 12 people, man, like having 12 teams really like fight it out neck and neck for it is honestly like unheard of, right? Like we usually don't see such an even distribution of, I don't want to say skill or anything like that, but like just the overall play, right? Like looking at everything, like the stats, like it's I'm not going to say it's even, but like people worked with what they had and they all achieved pretty much the same thing, which doesn't happen.
It's a great showing for this tournament. It's a great showing for the first time we're seeing Apex at this level. Apex has a great international scene. It has a great game tournament schedule. But the Esports World Cup we know is different, and everyone's been looking at it this year to see how it's going to change esports on an individual game level, as well as an organization level, as well as a whole competitive level. The tournament system might be the first time we see those changes be implemented in other games. We're seeing the pick ban in Overwatch might be implemented in other tournaments. But exactly, for this to have that level of closeness in the competition was amazing. Going to the last chance, which is like the knockouts, you're taking the last teams here fighting for their lives essentially to then transition into the finals day where Guild Esports had a shot at winning this. From that, you're talking Cinderella story, classic Cinderella story. You're talking classic, like, you know, dark horse sort of, I'm going to win. They had a shot at this and it was close and they were putting up the points, as you can see across their line here. Not too shabby as a overall. And like, you don't usually see that in competitive games on this scale, on this high level of competition. You'll see maybe 2 or 3 teams go at it, but for 12 to compete like this, you know, Alliance did run away with it. Team Falcons did also run away with it. That point total towards match 6, 28 points in a single match is incredible, dude. You know, they smelled blood. They wanted it, but they had to make up for this 1 and this 3, of course. And like, I'm just talking numbers, and that's why I can't convey the true impact of all this. Check the VODs. It was very exciting to see, but like, that is what it comes down to at the end of the day. These guys fought their damnedest and did a damn good job. So I would definitely encourage some people to watch the next esport for Apex as well, you know, as some of these other games that are happening while this EWC is occurring.
The devs are definitely taking notes of this tournament. Like, they probably went straight to Reddit and were just like, game is healthy, don't need patch, shut up. Like 12 teams fought for first place. Game healthy, we're good, we're out. But like, you know, the spreadsheet there that you're looking at it just at a glance, man, like that's just battle royale, right? Like sometimes you come down, you just get nothing. Like that's the gripe of battle royale, and they like it. That's cool. That ain't for me, where you drop down and you're just like, damn, I guess I'll just put my controller down for the next 20.
Unlucky, go again. You know, and like that's something we've said, that's what makes the greats great in a battle royale. They can minimize or damage control those bad drops, those unlucky situations. But you know, it happens to the best of us, of course. And like, I gotta applaud you, Nick, because you are absolutely right in this sense. And it's a great transition for us to bring us to the next point. Apex devs, Respawn, I believe, they were definitely watching, and they were definitely trying to ride the momentum of this, because just shortly today or yesterday, they announced that the aim assist was too strong ahead of a nerf that they're expecting to do in season 22. I mean, I want to go one further here and say, you got to get rid of it. Aim assist should not exist. There shouldn't be something that automatically clicks ahead, or doesn't click ahead, but you know, it's like botting at that point. And any degree of it is too much. And I know that becomes a conversation because we're about to have that next week about the new keyboard with snap tapping, the hitbox controller for fighting games. Street Fighter's coming up. Hardware can be an issue. Mouse and keyboard could be a better format for control than controllers. But that might just be the breaks, right? Like there's a point, and it goes into the Olympics too. They have got the Vaporfly shoes with the carbon fiber insoles. At what point is it legal, and what point is it illegal? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. I applaud them. And Nick, I want to get your thoughts on this too in a second, but I applaud the devs for admitting it's too strong. But it feels like they're doing this because people are complaining and possibly stopping playing their game, and like the battle pass issues didn't. So like they're trying to like maybe ride some good press with the Esports World Cup and the tournament success and how exciting the 12 teams competing were. But What are your thoughts here with the devs and this comment that it's too strong?
There's only ever been one argument from console gamers, right? And like, it's, keyboard and mouse is so much better for playing shooters. Like, that's always been the case, except for when you fucking hold their hand and when you put cheats on for them. Aim assist is cheating. I don't care. Like, I don't care what you want to say. It's cheating. It's like going to your menu and putting on "help me shoot bad guys better. Thank you." Okay, like that's it. That's what you're doing. You went into your settings, and it's all good, dude. There's a lot of different cheating that used to happen. In Halo, you could turn your handicap on so that when you get smacked by one of your friends, you just went flying. Right? Or when you smacked your friend because you put your handicap at 20%, it was just all the force with no damage. So you could send people flying across the map and capture the flag. It's definitely cheating. Like it's basically like going into an option, and just because you didn't do it, but you'd be pissed if it's gone. Right? And you're also mad when it's not there in the first place because you think the game sucks or something. But I don't know. Keep console gamers with console gamers. Like,
that was going to be my point with that, to jump in. If everybody gets to use those fancy carbon fiber shoes at the Olympics, then it's not really an advantage. But the fact that you don't give aim assist to mouse and keyboard players, or won't do that, which understandably I'm for it not doing that becomes a competitive problem. So if you just have the competitive pool separate, that's not necessarily an issue. Everybody who has controller and want to overcome that and play with controller and use auto aim, go for it. But of course, then queue times come in, and the health of the game, and the game's not being played by people anymore, it becomes an issue. And that's where then I know you and I agree on this one, then it becomes a crutch for a bad game. And it's not to say Apex is a bad game, but if players are upset by it, if players don't want to play the game, then it's a bad game. If players don't want to play it on console, and the same goes with PC, it becomes a bad game for that respective thing. Doing something to jumpstart it or prop it up might be a temporary fix, but you got to do something better long term, basically. And hopefully they get the right message from this. The battle pass wasn't it. Aim assist ain't it, bro. So that's where we're at right now.
I mean, just when you have something like this, you just think about it logically. When you're designing features inside your game, right? Are you trying to do it for every console plus PC? Or are you making your game, which is for the PC, the PC shooter market or the console shooter market, right? And then the other one gets to have the privilege of playing the game that is made for something else on their other device. It's the mobile mentality. Stop ruining my normal game just because you want to port it to mobile, right? And you want to be like, oh, well, I want some quality life stuff for the mobile gamers. No disrespect, mobile and Xbox gamers, but fuck you, dude. I'm already playing the game. Why is the game getting worse for me just so you could play? I think that's kind of a comment for aim assist, right? It's it got worse for PC gamers who are playing it just because aim assist got better. So you became happier at literally you punched down, bro. You punched on your own community and said I hate the players who use keyboard and mouse. Give me this aim assist. And the players who have aim assist won't say it's bad or that they don't want to have it, right?
A big question with that is how much do they know it's being active or not? They could just feel like they're really good at the game, or they're hitting all the shots today, kind of stuff. And there could be an aspect of that. There's days I'm cold, there's days I'm hot. Absolutely. But there's that ambiguity in between that of knowing what you're doing, how you're doing it. And technically, does it matter because you're just playing the game? Maybe not. I think a more elegant way to putting it, and what you're correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm understanding how you're saying it, is what if this was graphics and we were doing the most realistic game ever made, and we're putting on console, we're putting on PC, and the PlayStation, the Xbox, and PC could all handle it, but then we want to also put it out on your Samsung Galaxy 6 10 years old or the Nintendo Switch, because it's going to broaden the player base and you can play it wherever you want. And then we have to make the standard of those graphics now at the Switch. There's an idea of fairness in that, where it's like, it's not fair. It's not my game, so I don't, at the end of the day either. Like, I don't get to make the choices. Sorry, excuse me. It's not my game at the end of the day, so I don't get to make the choices. But if it's a game I'm playing and it's a game they gave me prior, and then they change it to then the standards of the Switch. I love my Switch, but it is not a high performance console. It is not a competitive console. If that, calling a console competitive is a little bit also like, but I think that if we were to apply that thought process of auto aim to any other aspect of the game, characters, movement, graphics, power consumption, it wouldn't fly. It would not fly.
Yeah. It's definitely weird. You're not going to change, Tracer so that Tracer is easier to play on something else, right? Or harder to play on something else. So it's just a weird thing to do. And like, if let's say console gamers only played against console gamers, would aim assist still be there? Like, is it only here because of keyboard and mouse?
Yeah, good point.
Like, is that really the argument on why aim assist is in the game? Or are people saying it's too hard to aim? Like that, like, it doesn't make any sense to me why it even got put into the game, except for the fact of, hey, you guys are playing with the big boys now, I'll give you a booster seat. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. Like it's pretty ridiculous when you say it like that, right? Like, hey, thanks for playing at the adult table now. Let's hope that you can sit with us for the whole time. Oh, you know what? Let's just let you run the craps table. It's all good. It's just weird.
Yeah, have the kids table run the show. But I think that's like, excellent question to ask. And like, one thing that immediately comes to mind for myself is really specifically the devs. They could have looked at time to kill for the different ranks on console and decided, oh, it's a bit slow. It's slower than where we want it to be. And that might be where they want auto aim to come in to help that time to kill increase, go faster. But I doubt this is a problem at the highest level of console players, controller players. And it's definitely not a problem for mouse and keyboard because they haven't given it to people on mouse and keyboard. And maybe that's also the argument where it's like my speculative example for why they would genuinely want to put that on a controller. It might be applicable, but I think it gets undercut because they didn't do it for low ranks on mouse and keyboard. So like, it might not be a time to kill issue at all, even, right? But
it is what it is.
Is what it is. All right. So we're going to leave it there if it is what it is. And we're going to move into our next topic. And it's also an EWC topic, Esports World Cup. We're going to be moving into Overwatch at EWC. And there's a lot to talk about here. We're going to be talking about hero pick bans. This is the first time we're seeing it implemented in this way. We're going to run down what the format was and what kind of happened in a later episode. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be breaking down pick ratios, ban ratios, as well as what maps it was on and teams it was against, because that became the big focal point. How is it going to work? How are people and teams going to strategize for this? And there's a lot to it, man. And let's just get into it. But we're going to start by getting into the breakdown. We're going to just go right into the prize pool and the tournament winners. NA showed up to this tournament. Something we didn't expect, but they did well. Especially after DreamHack, we weren't thinking they were going to make any sort of impact or impression, but they were able to get themselves together for this tournament and really ran the bracket for a while. Here we go. Crazy Raccoon, though, overcoming everybody else. First place with a $400,000 first prize prize. Shu as the MVP for the tournament. Shu was impeccable as a support player throughout the tournament. Was able to just sustain and make those plays happen and also be an offensive threat, which you come to know Shu as being. Toronto Ultra taking second place with a $160,000 prize pool. Team Falcons and Zeta coming in on third and fourth, respectfully, and walking away with 80 grand. We keep talking about Team Falcons, man, but that was a Korean team that was able to make some money here, fight all these teams overall. So this standing set, does it surprise you a little bit? Is it a little bit off from what you were expecting, Nick?
No, I think, like, what did we talk about the last time that we talked about this? I think like I was really interested to see how like M80 was going to do. I was going to watch them. I think I'm not even joking, because of the name Crazy Raccoons. I think they've been like the guys that we've just like, yo, Crazy Raccoons, let's get it. Let's get it. Like I think we're quoted every time they come up in something of just being like, let's go, Crazy Trash Pandas.
Yeah, and that was an organization that picked up that team pretty late in the season for Korea and the APAC region. So going to the moniker of Crazy Raccoons is a bit of a surprise, but it's definitely fitting the bill, and they're doing crazy right now. They're going crazy right now, and it doesn't seem like any other team can just sustain at the level that they are sustaining. And it's proof is in the pudding. That's two major tournaments they've won, a major tournament with a pick ban system for the first time. But looking at some of the other teams that we were expecting, I'm going to go into the brackets in just a second, but here we are with the whole place. M80 doing a little worse than we thought we were expecting to do, but
yeah, I mean, we had some like hiccups, right? Like that, they had so many hiccups on their roster. Even like recently before starting the Esports World Cup, right? So, that's why we're watching them, right? Like we want to see how well they're going to do with all these difficulties, these trials and tribulations that they're going through with their team. So, like 10th place, not bad.
Yeah, and the overall issues with like meta or even just being NA, the level of competition has been questioned hand and mouth over and over again. Or is that the saying? Hand and foot, hand and mouth? But yeah, it's being questioned a lot. But another team that kind of surprised us was Twisted Minds, another team that had issues with rosters, and they ended up doing a lot better than some would expect here. The team, I have to say though, the team from China, LGDOA, they were knocked out pretty early, fairly early. They kind of showed up, but they really didn't do a great job after groups. So like,
that's fine.
Yeah, it happens.
That's a borrowed team, So it's a combo. It's a hybrid. So they have like two different teams that came together to form a team. So like their synergy's not there. It's like it's all good. Like just the fact of like getting some good plays in, right? And like it's like how much time did they have to practice? Like the LGG OA, right? It's something I can't remember what it was, right? It's something with a W. Oh my god.
But just
it's two teams.
Just jumping in too, we're talking about Overwatch League level players, and I think you're right where it's like it's been a while since at least about a year since Overwatch League. About a year. I had to math in my head. But you've got these players like Gushue, Langsa, Monk, Shy Leave. They're considered some of the best in their roles ever to do the thing. They're great players. They might not just have been able to shake the rust off in the current meta. They might not have been able to size themselves up at an international tournament like this because they haven't done it in a while. And this, you can also see at the bottom here, their way in was an invite. Other teams had to win stages and win regions, and this is just showing they were invited. And I'm not knocking that. Having that representation, having that inclusion because that area has been excluded for a little bit isn't a bad thing, but maybe that was one of the hiccups and speed bumps they had to run out and run through. And they just kind of couldn't do it this first go around. Maybe the pick ban system also just kind of knocked them because Gushue is definitely known as the monkey guy. But I do know he has some flexibility, but that was maybe the name of the game. Maybe it shook them on the time frame, the prepping, etc. I'm going to roll this up into, let me bring us over to this screen while I get us into the brackets, because the brackets were interesting, to say the least. We're going to start off by looking at the group stages once I get to the brackets, and we're going to see which teams got knocked off, and then see which teams brought the pain into the playoffs, into the single elimination. All right, so Group A might have been ultimately became like the most not competitive, but like one-sided. A lot of 3-0s there. ROC Esports, Rock Esports just got knocked out immediately from that with a -9. MKers also went 0-3, couldn't take couldn't take a single round, a single map. Nightmare was able to do some fighting, and that was one that was probably more competitive in that sense in Group D. And then Bleed Esports walking away with the 0-3. That one I think is interesting because M80 coming out with the 1-2. They are in a group with Zeta Division and ENCE. ENCE is a pretty strong EU team. Zeta Division is a pretty strong APAC team. You would kind of hope and kind of think they were able to do a little bit more than that, but that's where, they squeak it out in the group stages, but not quite able to make it far into the single elimination brackets as we're about to see. Actually, before I go into this, Nick, with these knockouts, I know we had our predictions. Do you recall, any sort of vibe or sentiment, even just with seeing the results?
No, I think my predictions were disrespectful. I think when I was doing them, I was just like, yeah. And so you're like, I think I said like, ENCE is gonna lose. They're gonna come in fourth, and you're like, no, they're pretty good though, man. Like they're actually kind of solid. And I'm like, they're trash. Like I think that's might have been like what it was. I think Rock Esports might have been the one that I called. Like.
Yeah, I think it's like a wishful thinking, dark horse sort of mentality. But man, they went 0-9 in maps. They just got 0-3'd by 3 different teams.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Rough tournament for
Absolutely
them, man.
Rough.
All right, so let's take a look at the brackets here, man, because I was a little bit surprised at the group stages. Some of the people in more of that second and third place kind of expectations that kind of shook up. But looking at the brackets, I think it kind of came into full spectrum here. Your boys, ENCE, they didn't get past second wave. They were able to... what's it called? 4-2 Fnatic, which I know was another spicy, but this might have been...
I definitely call that. I definitely, because I shit on Fnatic all the time because they sell socks.
This was the battle of Nick's spicy takes right here, and the spicier take ended up going into the Lion's Den, the crazy raccoon den, and getting 4-0'd. So it was a lose-lose situation for them. But it did guarantee them a bit more prize pool. I think double prize pool. Team Falcons took on M80 immediately in this play-in round 1, and that was not a quick 4-0. I want to say it's quick 4-0 to be disrespectful because they looked flat. They didn't look like they could do anything against that APAC region, and they just did not have any flexibility for the pick bans and whatnot. Space Station also taking a 4-0 over Gaming Gladiators. Gaming was another team we were kind of skeptical on, but did show some promise, and they just couldn't do anything with that promise. Then Toronto Ultra just taking it to the team from China, LGDOA, and just running the board from there up until they met that crazy raccoon den in the finals.
That's a real shame. That's a real shame for them. Just like running the gauntlet and then just getting swatted down. Absolutely sucks. But hey, at least they made it to second place, right?
And you could argue that the teams they played in the first 2 rounds here are weaker in that way. Twisted Minds, LGD. But they definitely had their hands full with Zeta Division, and they pulled it out. It was a close match, probably closer than they want to be. But, they trash talked it. They pointed to the fences. We want crazy raccoons, and they got it. And they ended up getting the one map that they said they wanted to at least start with that. And I think that's pretty much the big conversation for that, because it was a lot that happened here. A lot overall for Toronto. So worthwhile to watch the VOD, especially for this game here, Zeta Division and Toronto Ultra. I do have to chime in, and I should have prepared this a little bit before. Let me bring it back here. But Nick, do you know what an Ajax is in Overwatch?
I have no idea, bro.
All right. So an Ajax is when a Lucio goes to drop the beat, his ultimate, but before he hits the ground and before he activates the ultimate, which activates when he hits the ground or solid surface, he gets killed. He gets stunned out of it. He gets killed. It's interrupted. It's stopped.
Okay.
So the most expensive Ajax in the world, in history, probably happened in that match of Zeta Division versus Toronto. Let me see. Ajax Zeta Division. Let's see.
And you lose the ultimate, right? You lose your ult because it gets canceled inside the cast.
Correct. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll through this. We're gonna do this live. Let me see if I can find it real quick. But we're talking about Violet. He was the Lucio player for this. It was the last round. There we go. Runasapi was the map. We're talking 3-3. Winner of this round, this map, takes home. Well, it doesn't take home. They go to the finals. They play Crazy Raccoons. It's already decided. This is a best of 7. It's on the line. It's neck and neck, back and forth. Toronto is running a poke comp with the Sigma. Zeta is going more dive with the Diva, bringing in Bernard for this map specifically to run that. And for some reason, Violet, running Lucio, sees something and tries to make a play. And let's bring it a little bit closer to here and run that play. Immediately destroyed. Here's a little bit of the precursor on that. I'll bring the volume down while we talk about it. They're doing the poke around this corner. They have the bot. They're pushing. They have the lead, right? For some reason, he sees something here with his team. He says, go, go, go. He takes a large angle and then Bap pops window and he is nuked. Violet is nuked. This Ajax, this ult nullification cost the team $80,000. Right there. $80,000 was on the line with that ult interruption, and the momentum shifts from this point out, and they lose the game and then take home 3rd, 4th place. That is super unfortunate. It's been a thing a lot of people have been talking about, that mistake. That was such a large angle to take to try to like make that play happen on the beat. Nick, this is the first time you're seeing it. What are your thoughts here? Because there's a lot to talk about for sure. And I don't want to harp too much on this guy because I'm sure he's feeling it already. But what are you thinking?
No harping on it, bro. His brain went full bronze. He thought about it too much. Like, he went full bronze. He just thought about it too much. And like that, instead of playing exactly what he knew he should play, he just went full bronze with it. It happens to everybody. Like, it happens to everybody, not at, an $80,000 juncture like this, but right there in the video, like, he has clear cover to do this. He can wall ride the same distance and get there, like, literally still pull people up. So,
right.
Like, he just overthought it, did the wrong thing, and thought, look, everybody's throwing shit at him, dude. They had him locked on, bro. He dropped the rock, man. Even the rock was going on him, bro. Like, Magneto and Madara was coming out and just throwing rocks at this kid. Like, absolutely ridiculous. Like, well, you can see it. So, like, he just steps out. He steps out thinking he's too clean with it. It's a full bronze moment. That's all. Like, not a bad player, just a bad moment.
You make a couple good points. A, they're locked onto him. They know he has beat. They're calling out for it. They're kind of, this and that. B, he could have easily just beat it on that ledge he's on. I don't think it's a line of sight issue. I think it was a go call. But I think, watch here, when the go call happens, he's got amplify up. He amps healing to keep the cast up, but then he switches into speed, and that might have been the thing. It overshot. Not just overshot, but like, he went to the other side of the road with that one, and that might have
too high anyway.
But I think
you notice that he went too high.
Yeah,
and went too far out.
That might have been the thing. He could have beat it on the ledge of this and hit LOS of everybody for that beat, so they could have committed to the fight. But I think he amps up the heal on the cast here, and then he switches to speed, and in doing so, he wall rides too. There it is. He clips the door frame, wall rides, so it gives him more height and distance on that amp speed, and then he just loses the beat and loses the fight for his team.
But like, being a person who's not the best Overwatch player here, right? I only make platinum. because I don't try, but maybe I could do higher. Who knows? Not the best though, right? But again, this is I'm just a fancy platinum player here, right? Like he's got a diva. Like, hold on, like he's got a diva, bro. That's it. Like he's got a diva. What the fuck is he on the front for, man? Like diva didn't even move. The diva's he's in front of diva. He's just straight up in front of diva for the most part for a good portion of that.
Diva probably didn't have Matrix either. Diva wasn't flashing Matrix for him either. So like there was a little bit of a discrepancy. Maybe they didn't have it already. He had used all the cooldown on it. It was etc. Like there's a little bit of discrepancy. He saw something. He said go, or somebody said go. He went before everybody else, and that amp speed maybe launched him a bit further. And I mean, one could argue it cost them a game, but this is pretty early in the match. Another 7 minutes left to go here. So, like, there's definitely room for them to come back, but it was pretty much the Toronto show after this point. They were able to just have ult advantage, able to just control the fights, control the point, never let them really take it past mid here. And that was kind of it. But it was something I wanted to highlight in the results of this match, this game, because this was specifically a very close match, well worth watching the VOD for, skipping all the ads and the commentators in between, but watching the gameplay because it was very exciting, and it made a huge difference because NA was able to then take second place instead of third place, and was able to walk away with an extra 80 grand at a total of 160,000 versus Zeta's only 80,000. Man, it's a rough
so that
break.
was like final round. That was final round, right?
That was second to final. So what is it? Semifinals.
But how deep into the match was it again? It was early in the match, right?
That was the last map. So it was 3-3.
Okay, so last map, 3 minutes into a 10-minute game. Yeah, he knew like. But I've told you this in League of Legends before, right? At 10 minutes, if you're dying, if you're the person who's dead at 10 minutes, like you're probably the reason why your team is losing the game, like just in general. And I'm not like, and that doesn't really go for Overwatch, right? But like he knew what he's supposed to do, and he thought too much about what he should do, right? Like he knew what he had to do. He's trained for this. They practiced it. They've done scrims. You know he's supposed to stay behind cover. They definitely had his number this whole game. It looked like he was eating sandwiches just from this VOD. Dude, like, I'm just saying, man. Like, it's rough. It's rough.
Violet's a great player. He knows, like you said, he knows what he's doing. That seemed like unlucky with the amp switching to speed and like launching like that. And then it just a miscommunication, a mistiming. He went a little early and Toronto had his number. They were expecting it. They were looking for him. They were able to stop the beat.
True.
That's
true. Yeah. I mean, you do say it right. You think he saw something, and like, usually in these moments when like this is what I'm saying, like you know what you're supposed to do, right? Everybody's still on that other plan. His plan could have totally worked, right? What he saw could have totally happened. The problem is just that, not everybody else saw it, and they're just not willing to like immediately go on that thing, right? Like it was like go, and it's just like, oh shit, we're going. All right, like holy shit, hold on. Like instead of like looking for the opportunity, they're looking for what they should like. It's like playing too by the book. But like Overwatch, like it happens in League a lot, like where people play to what the book says you should do. When like there's an opportunity like right there where like really what you're supposed to do in this exact moment. I don't know if it's for this one, but like in that exact moment, you're supposed to make this certain play where everybody responds to it. And if two people don't respond to it properly, the play is wasted, right? And then like you look like oh, look at this guy. Why is he even here? Like, like where did we get this guy from? Home Depot? Like, no, but as I said, like, this is a good player. He's just thinking about it too much, and it's just a bad moment, not a bad player.
Definitely a tough one, and it's going to be one of those infamous moments as well. Just like why we name things Ajax, because I believe the player Ajax basically had it happen multiple times in a single game, or had it multiple times over a career. C9 happening because Cloud9 famously forgot the cart for a lot of times, multiple times. And it's just unfortunate. Definitely unfortunate, definitely embarrassing, definitely a bit of miscommunication. Like we even said with the Diva cooldowns, they weren't flashing Matrix. They maybe didn't have the cooldown up. Maybe they didn't have the juice to flash it, but it is what it is. It was an exciting match. That was one of the reasons and one of the things that made it exciting. But you know, another big reason this tournament was exciting was because of the pick ban system. So as we wrap up this subject, let's hit our final point with Overwatch before we move into looking forward in Esports World Cup and a little bit of the rest of LCK and LCS expectations and predictions. But let's take a look at the hero bans of this past tournament for Overwatch. This was the first time hero bans have ever been done on a tournament of this scale, of this professional level. It has a lot at risk. It was very well thought out and very well discussed by the community. And ultimately, the community sentiment is this was awesome. It was really cool to see, and the specific nuance, just to remind you, if you weren't paying attention or not quite sure how it worked, we got the format for you. So hero bans, each team got to ban one hero. Loser generally picked, and I think the lower seed started off by picking, and they got to pick if they got first ban or second ban after they pick map. With that, when they pick a hero, they can only pick a hero once. So if you pick Lucio, you cannot pick Lucio again for the entire rest of the match, but your team could. If you pick Lucio, you could also not pick, the other team cannot pick another character in the support role. So again, the two caveats: the ban applies to both teams, and the team who picks it cannot pick that hero again. The other team cannot pick another hero in that same role. Right? Pretty straightforward. Pretty straightforward.
You'll never see DPS, healer. It's just going to be one of each role, regardless of whatever the teams pick.
Exactly. And it means you have to be more surgical with dismantling comps or teams or players. If you're going to ban that Lucio one trick, you can only do it one time, right? And that was one of the speculations we had for people like Funny Astro, who's like the Lucio player. How many times would they ban him, or would they look towards other things and doing that? We're going to have a full breakdown of ban rates next week and a story, so stick around for that. But just kind of overviewing what happened at the tournament, that was the system. And here's the general picks, Baptiste, Brig, Lucio, Wrecking Ball, Echo, Malga, Sigma, Baptiste. We're seeing a lot of different teams, and like here we had Ents and Fnatic. So like we're talking about a brawl heavy team, and I'm not super familiar what Fnatic likes to run, but generally speaking, it seemed that Fnatic wanted to stop a poke comp, Malga comp, like I guess against a Ramattra, like a Ramattra counter. They're trying to stop like an Echo Tracer dive kind of thing. And then Ents is looking at like the faster stuff, Lucio, Wrecking Ball, maybe Brig for an Ana comp, maybe a Baptiste. So you start seeing them pick for teams, they start seeing them pick for maps, and maybe a better way to look at it. What's that?
No, go back to that real quick.
Okay. What do you see, Nick?
I see Fnatic wasting a ban with Baptiste. Just in general, like if they banned it first, like if Ents banned that first, by the way, they don't care about playing it. Like they can play it, but they were like, I don't give a shit. It's first game. Like ban this thing out.
I think that one might be like a throwaway. Yeah, you're right. I think it might be a throwaway, but it might be a throwaway on a map that they don't really play Baptiste on. That's Lijiang. Maybe you play it on server or control room, the indoor one where Rhine is really good, and that's a Rhine team. Literally, Rhine's shield is the size of the door, so if you control point, you're blocking the whole choke point, really. So maybe they threw Baptiste in there to get it out of the way so they could play it later on, but then, in Coliseo, Fnatic bans Baptiste again. So I guess they were expecting Baptiste to be the a big point of it. And that's like the interesting part of it. You know, what is a throwaway pick on purpose just to get it out of the way? So it's something to do right now. What's a deception pick? What's a preventative pick, stopping your other team from playing? And what's a optimization pick for you to make sure that you get to play later on, or etc. You know, and that was the depth and dimension that we did see with these picks. And I was going to move us into Crazy Raccoon and Toronto Ultra before we move on to another topic, because I think this might be more where teams and players got a better feel of it. And you're talking about the two teams that performed the best, statistically at the very least, really like show what they were intending to do and what they were doing. So here we have is Raccoons banning Kiriko, Lucio, Alari. So 3 healers off the bat, basically limiting Toronto's support line. So they saw them, there's a good chance they saw them as the initial threat, as the composition push, and that they wanted to just like dismantle them through their support line, either through the bans or be able to like dive them, because they ran a lot of dives. Beyond that, they banned Malga, Lifeweaver. So like Lifeweaver one feels like a throwaway, like we're saying. That's last map. That feels like, yeah, we don't even care. We're going to take it no matter what.
Yeah, like, I mean, so like, I noticed there's only like a few teams that end up banning like the same champions or same characters in their matches. And like, I don't know, anytime that I really do feel this, like, and this is the same thing like in other games, but like if you're banning at the support, like supports are great. But like if you're first ban, you come out this, you're like support, and people are like, no, we're gonna ban a tank or a DPS. Like, I mean, they have to ban a tank or a DPS, but like it's pretty disrespectful. Like come out and be like, I don't even think your DPS got it, bro. Like, it's just...
Right, and that's the thing. I wish there was more of a breakdown of like the pick order, because loser picks map, and then loser gets to choose who gets to ban first. And generally speaking, I would assume you would take the ban first, but I could see there's some strategy in taking the ban second. So I would like to see a bit more breakdown as far as that information goes. But you're right, like off the bat, it's a good chance that like Crazy Raccoons actually took the first ban pick, because it was just neutral and, you know, they, you know, this and that. Or if Toronto took that first pick, then banning Wrecking Ball was just maybe limiting the looks they would expect to see on that map. I know my boy Yeedle, he's always playing. He used to always play Wrecking Ball. I think he's doing 50 hours of Tracer right now. But he'd always say on Wrecking Ball, you don't lose on Lijiang. We always win on Lijiang. So maybe that was the thought process for Toronto. You counter Wrecking Ball because Wrecking Ball wins on Lijiang. It could have also been to like just limit the scope of what they're expected to see. They're expecting to see the Winston. They're expecting to see the Doom on that first map, to kind of just limit what they're what they're going to play against. Beyond that, they're going after the APAC Pacific region dive. Winston, Lucio, Diva, and then the kind of random Pharah. But we know APAC likes to play Pharah. We know Pharah's been kind of nuts. But at high levels, I'm sure you could just have a hit scan pop off and keep them in check for sure. But this was what made the depth interesting. Oh, and the big thing I didn't really get to say before, it was something I learned after the fact. They only had 90 seconds to make the map and the ban picks overall between both teams, I believe. So it moved quick.
So that's super short. Do they have their coach on stage, or is it just the players?
Yes. They had their coach on stage, and the coach was not able to communicate with them during matches, but in between matches they could.
Yeah. All right. I mean that's fine. But like, so one thing pretty specific, like everybody should realize, like especially Toronto Ultra, right? Like Crazy Raccoons is not like playing against Kiriko. I'm not even joking. Like they banned it in all 3.
Yeah.
Like it was the first ban on the first one, first ban on the last one. It was the third ban on the second one. Like there's a reason why, but they probably find Kiriko to be a little bit, a little bit helpful against them in the comp that they're trying to play against.
Yeah,
they're trying to play. Sorry.
probably just a little too slippery and a little like, you know, defensive with that Suzu. And they banned it on Ilios, Suravasa, and then the last one, Li Jiang. Ilios and Li Jiang were both first ones right out the gate as well. So like that might have been a informed strategy just to start with, like a coach strategy, like let's start strong, let's get the map win, let's pull this one out. They save Kiriko against Team Falcons, which is a rival of theirs from the APAC region. They save it for the third match on Suravasa, which is a flashpoint. Yes, it's a flashpoint. So like that one makes a little less sense to me. Maybe that was a, like, I don't know, like a reaction pick. Or I guess, I don't know, they did lose the second map of Runasapi, and this was a pick, so maybe they was their first pick. So maybe this was like, okay, let's throw this out and make a strong foot because it's 1-1. Let's like just take this match control back.
Yeah, without a full deep dive, like, you know, there are multiple different reasons. Like Kiriko could be, like, in their opinion, could be one of the stronger just healers in general, right? Like supports in general, not healers, but like supports. Where like they're always thinking about like when they have to ban it and stuff like that. But that, you know, that's just a quick notice on like without doing a deep dive.
Right. And I'm not sure how much of a total deep dive we're going to be able to do because there is some information that's missing. And if you do know where to find it, I'd love to know pick order, ban order for this stuff, what ended up getting decided during the matches. Because even watching the VODs back, it's hard to say, hard to tell. Plus, that's a lot of time to commit again to that. But either way, it made the competition really interesting. Stick around to check out our further depth and statistics. We're going to try to come with that next week, just so we get like a ban percentage, see how that played out, and see if we can maybe suss out some more analysis and information from that. I'd love to see this system in future tournaments. I'd love to see them implement it in Stage 3 for Overwatch Championship Series.
Yeah, this one is, you know, this pick and ban phase for Overwatch, like, as you just said before, like, needs to be extended a little bit, but this one fits Overwatch and, like, what they're, like, the style of Overwatch with, you know, this is chess, not checkers, everybody. And, like, there's just, like, always trying to do a, like, a very chessy style pick bans, you know, team comps, or like it's very, very chess oriented, rock, paper, scissors oriented. I would love to see some like weird bans where like you ban for what you switch to. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they think we're going to play this and we ban that. And then like, boom, they're just doing something else on this one map or something like that, you know?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how this evolves, like you're saying, what choices happen. I think this was a good first foot forward. I was personally in the camp of like not really leaning towards pick ban systems, because a lot of games that introduce pick ban systems, the game becomes more about picking and banning, and rather than being one tool in the toolbox for stuff, one aspect. And of course, you know, that comes with good design and good balance and overall health of the game over a long period of time, which waxes and wanes, of course, but I ended up enjoying this one, and I'd like to see it happen more, maybe refined a little bit, but I thought that was beautifully done. Any final thoughts on the Overwatch stuff before we move into what to expect in the next week of EWC?
No, I'm like excited for the future of it, and I think the only thing that I really have to end with it would be, I wish they would have started off with less restrictions on the way that the way the bans work, and I hope because it'll be hard to evolve on less restrictions going forward, where like you can only have a support and a tank get banned, or a DPS and a support get banned, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. But you know, it's right in the right direction.
I see where you're coming from on that, and like just to kind of counterpoint you really quick, I like that phrasing of it, because it essentially created two picks with only one pick. Like, not two picks, but like it kind of was like a defensive part of the pick as well. You can't pick another support, you know, if I pick support, something like that. And like that, it felt simple but effective and like not overly complicated. So maybe not an evolution, maybe a total adaptation or a change to that. But I think we both agree this was a good first step in pick bans for Overwatch. and it'd be cool to see if it's implied in what happens over the the lifetime of the game, the upcoming tournaments, especially if it's going to take a lot of the same system and styles as League has or Dota has.
Oh, don't do that. Big ban phase. Like it's what they're trying to cut down over there. We got 5 bans per side. Like our coaches on stage. There's time in between.
Yeah. Like talking about chess matches.
Yeah, no, it's a little much over on that side, but keeping this under like a 5-minute thing for the whole entire thing, like I think 1.5 minutes is a little bit short, but let it evolve, let it breathe. We'll see how people feel. Mostly like the pros. I want the pros to walk away from this thing and then basically give us their opinion because who the fuck am I?
And that 90 seconds gives a more of a fighting game feel. It's something we're very familiar with, like the bans, the map bans, and the map picks for fighting games in between rounds on stage like that. And they're able to do it quickly because it's just directly them. But that I got that feeling from that 90-second limit, and I kind of welcome it. But speaking of fighting games, we do need to move on to our next topic, and we're going to go into what to expect this week if you're watching the Esports World Cup. And surprise, surprise, it's a fighting game. Street Fighter 6 is kicking off this week, starting in 2 days if you're watching us on Tuesday. Thursday the 8th. Yes, that's math, that's dates. Thursday the 8th, it's kicking off. We're going to run down quickly the schedule and the teams that are playing, expected to play. Let me actually bring us over here to the format first. So it's going to be 8 groups of 4 players. So 8 times 4, what's that? That's 32. 32 players total in a double elimination bracket. All games are first to 3. Top 2 players will advance to the next phase. In the second phase, there's going to be 4 groups of 4. And then I think it's round robin style, GSL style. Each group plays a double elimination bracket. All matches are first to 3. And then the top 2, so rinse and repeat a little bit there. And then the finals, the last phase, it's single elimination where it's going to be first to 5. Let's take a look at the teams that are competing. I'm sorry, not the teams, the players, the individual people that are competing. There's a lot of names here. Nothing really stands out. Chris Wong stands out to me off the bat as someone who's familiar but not familiar. A Punk stood out a little bit as well, but you're seeing a lot of APAC region representation over here as well. A lot of the flags are from Japan, some Korea, some China.
It's not Mortal Kombat. Like I don't know what you expected, homie. Like it ain't Mortal Kombat. Definitely the European and APAC region does seem to like that Street Fighter a little bit more. But Street Fighter is a fun game. It's gonna be cool. I do want to know how many of these players are they allowed to bring hitboxes in?
Almost definitely.
Right, I would assume so too, right? And how many of these players are going to have hitboxes out of 32 of them? Right, all of them? Nah. So let's see what the
They're all organization sponsored, it seemed like, and a lot of them are pretty big organization as well. So I wouldn't doubt that's the case, because that becomes the new standard in fighting games. It's just a matter of, I guess, then preference, who's used to it, who's not, who wants to play on it, who doesn't.
I mean, yeah, that so again, let's full disclosure on this one. On Street Fighter, it's not the most important thing because they did change the way the controller works to be more like hitbox. Just so that if you didn't know it, they actually updated the way the controller works so that hitbox and it are pretty similar. I think they're almost exact except for one. I think there's one certain thing that is on hitbox but isn't on controller. So Street Fighter probably not the craziest, but I would probably say it's going to be more of a thing with Tekken. Tekken would probably, because I have not heard about Tekken updating their controls for hitbox inclusion.
True. And I know we're going to be seeing a lot more conversation about hitbox. We're going to be seeing a lot more conversation about that kind of technological advancement for controls in games, because then we're also going to be talking about snap tapping next week for keyboards and how it's going to change FPSs. And is it legal or is it illegal? Is it in the spirit of the game or not, really, is the question. And like something a lot of these games are, you know, having those discussions about, specifically just running us back to the auto aim. It's similar to that. The developer stepping in for Street Fighter, and they're basically adjusting regular controllers, regular control sticks to operate in the same way that the hitbox does, which could be argued it's similar to adding auto aim. But definitely, you know, that argument falls apart when it becomes how intrusive it is. So that's a lot of the conversation to come forward.
I think the more people learn about the snapping, the less problem they're going to have with it. Like I'll be honest, I'll be completely honest with you. Like I'm on the other side of the fence. Like everybody should be using it, and it's basically just because you're. It feels like your keyboard is now working as intended.
Right.
Like if you actually like understand what the snap tapping is, your keyboard is working as intended now that this feature is on your keyboard. Well, and before it wasn't.
Well, it was something we wanted to talk about today because it's something we've been like very keyed in on recently. But it's with the week off, we just couldn't necessarily. We're already running an hour and 15 in. We got one more topic to kind of cover as well. So like, if you want to know more about what snap tapping is, make sure you hit like, follow, subscribe, all the internet things. Stick around, join us in our conversations on social media, whatever it is, because if you're interested in that stuff, so are we, and we want to talk about it. So if you do too, you know where to find us.
I can hit you with the TLDR.
We'll save it. Let's save it for next week, my guy. Let's save it for next week.
Everybody in the TLDR. That's okay.
Because we're talking.
Billy's got these blue balls and you guys. It's okay.
Yeah, we're talking about Street Fighter here at EWC and what's happening. So the tournament prize pool, it's starting in 2 days. We saw the competitors. Here's what is at stake. First place, $300,000 first place prize, $140,000 for second, $75K for third and fourth, and $45,000 for fifth through eighth. I think everybody else walks away with some cash as well. Yeah, not too bad for an individual tournament. Minimum $5,000, but I just wanted to run over that before we switched over into taking a look at who. Yeah, before we switch into like
Michael Mendoza. Best name on this list. Michael Mendoza. He's gonna win.
All right. Nick's making the call, so Michael, you better show up. Nick's rooting for you.
Awesome. Just the alliteration on the name just to win this. Let's go.
All right, so just to take a quick look at the schedule for Street Fighter, starting on Thursday, I'm in Eastern time, so it's going to be showing Eastern time, but I believe that's 10 a.m. Eastern time on the 8th. We're going to be kicking things off with Gachikun and Ryukichi, Punk NL, and then just the rounds continuing on that. So make sure you tune in if you're interested. Make sure to watch. It's going to be going on all weekend for that. But if you're also not interested in fighting games and Fortnite or FPSs or more your style, well, good news for you. Fortnite is also kicking off this week, I believe the 10th. No, sorry, the 8th. Also on Thursday. That's not Fortnite. That's Street Fighter again. There we go. Fortnite. Also kicking off. Dragons versus Team Falcons, I believe is going to be 5v5, and they're going to be playing this week. Here's the format. 16 teams are going to be divided into groups of 4. They're going to be playing best of 5. So first to 3 wins. Top 2 teams from each group is going to move on. So that means 2 teams are eliminated immediately. And then it's going to a single elimination playoff bracket. All matches are going to be best of 7. So first to 4 wins. And then the seeding is going to be based on group stage results. So, you you play harder, you go farther, you're more likely to. They're going to be playing for a total of $1 million collectively, but $400,000 first prize is looking pretty sweet for Fortnite. It's definitely not Madison Square Garden $1 million first place prize pool, Nick, if you recall that one from a while ago, but this is still nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking a nice vacation to potentially win $400,000. Like it's pretty cool. And basically you're on prototype Olympics, right? So like it's definitely worth the trip. Like it's totally worth it, even if it's only a measly $1 million, right? Even though $1 million is still like too much money.
Right, and our boys, Team Falcons here, first on the list. They're competing in Fortnite as well. We've got a bunch of other teams, some that you know, some that you've seen in other games already, but some that you haven't really. Carmine Corp, Heroic, couple, I believe, EU teams that qualified from DreamHack, and some qualifiers coming on over. You know, it's a pretty decent list of players, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's all over the place, but it's you know, fun to see. It's easy, you know, to kind of see.
Pretty interesting.
All right, Nick, I'm going to make you, I know neither of us really follow a lot of Fortnite, so we're speed running through this schedule and kind of expectation, but I want you to take a wild guess who's winning this one.
Team Falcons.
That's definitely the easy route here, man. That's definitely the easy route.
No, let's go with Dignitas. Surprise. Dignitas is coming out. Yeah, it's Dignitas, right? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Still got that.
Unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with the players, the player names. It's a lot like Rocket League, where it feels overwhelming to me. Not in the boomer way, but in that, like, there's so much always happening in Fortnite, and like you really got to key in as the only thing you're watching for really follow, I feel like. And that's a conversation for like a bigger picture of Fortnite esports, or the health of esports in general, maybe how it needs to grow up a little bit. But that's also great for the current, you know, internet economy, the eyeball economy. And there's always something pumping out, something new to kind of get your hands on.
The Super Bowl. Like, I think Saudi Arabia needs to have like a halftime show or something with like crazy ass commercials where like they just like that's because that's how you get people who don't even watch football to show up to a Super Bowl party. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, we got food, we got alcohol, got crazy commercials with talking dogs. That's like, if that's the grow up that you're talking about, I think we can all agree that talking dogs, food, parties, I think we can all get behind that.
Yeah, you might be right there, Nick, and I'm going to take credit for it, even if it doesn't happen. But, you know, here are the groups really briefly. Group A, Dragon Esports, Team Falcons, Zeta Division. This by name feels like a strong division, but again, I have no familiarity. So if you're more familiar with it, let us know. I do want to get involved with it, but like I said, it's a little overwhelming to keep track of this as well as all the other esports happening right now. Okay, Group B, Exceed, Power, Gaming, Gladiators, and ALULA. Group C, Fnatic, R8 Esports, Carmine. I believe we saw Carmine actually win something quite recently, maybe a couple months ago, but I can't put my hands on it. And then, I don't know, man, my pick might be KS7 here because they're running in with that near Triforce. They've got the trophy already prepped, man.
That's actually hysterical. Nah, it's not happening.
And then Group D, Dignitas, Big Clan, Heroic, and W7M Esports. You know, so those are going to be the initial kickoff groups competing against each other to make it past eliminations, get into that final playoff. And I think you were right in the beginning too, Nick. I think we're going to see Team Falcons on the board. I think they've got a little insider information that know how to work it here. But
judges are judging in their favor. Oh no.
All right. I think it's time for our last topic. It's been a long, sweaty show. We had a lot to cover, but we're finally to our final topic, League of Legends. We're going to be doing a little bit of an expectation for the summer split playoffs. Nick, you told me to correct myself, the playoffs for the summer split. That's how we have to say it, right?
That's how you say it. Otherwise, Riot will come to your house and club you to death. That's the only way they like to say it.
I think I'd like to, I'll stick on that. I'll stick on the summer split playoff because that feels more natural to me. And I'm just going to be a little bit spicy on that one. But yeah, we're going to be talking about what to expect with the summer split playoffs. But first and foremost, we got to talk about a little bit of the drama in the LCK. And that's going to start with our boy Faker. Many of you have already heard that he had a little bit of a breakdown, in air quotes, after a loss this past week, and ends up headbutting a wall continuously in frustration and disappointment. They do have the video here, and we want to see what you guys think, and I'm going to get what Nick thinks in a second, but all right, bear with me on the sound. I don't want to blow your eardrums out.
I don't even think it has sound. Oh, it does have sound.
It's a bit disheartening to see. It's good to see the team stick in there, like kind of support them. Definitely a frustrating loss, which we can go over in a second. But Nick, what's your thoughts here? You know, what are you seeing? What are you thinking in context of stuff?
Hey, he's just frustrated, man. Like he's playing, he's playing at a very high level, like all the time. And I think on these games, like he got caught out pretty effectively. It seemed like they've just they might have had map hacks where they could just see where he is in the shadows and where everybody was. So he's just frustrated. And he probably thinks that he's the reason why they lost. And he's being super hard on himself just in general.
Yeah.
The one positive to take away from this for every single person who plays a game with a keyboard and mouse, he didn't type. Just to throw that out there, he didn't type at all. Just throw that out there. It's just a bad one. I mean, you see the coach talking to him right here. The coach is sitting down. That's coma, and he sees it, and he's he doesn't even get up on the first, and then he's holy. He's real frustrated, and then he gets up after this when they're consoling him. Yeah. But his coach is probably talking to him the whole time while this is happening, and he's just real frustrated, man.
I don't want to beat a dead horse and keep showing the video. I think that's enough because you don't want to see that. It's unlucky. And big time players like Faker want to put the game on their shoulders. They want to take the win, not let it slip. And it definitely shows, like you're saying, the frustration, and maybe he felt like it slipped out of his hands. I didn't watch the whole of the game, and I'm not an expert enough to know what he might have saw, if it was the team or him, but you don't like to see that kind of stuff. It's a tough moment for that, especially after coming off of their win, a little bit of a storied win at EWC tournament for League of Legends, and that Faker skin sort of stuff. So maybe he's also feeling the pressure of retirement, wanted to squeeze one more out of this if he thinks it's gonna be ending soon.
I mean, he can retire. There's no reason for him to retire. He's been playing great. Just getting caught out is it's just rough, man. And I think Faker's he's one of a few top players that can play with a lot of different people. And usually it's oh man, I got Faker on my team. I can perform a little bit better, but he doesn't, I don't know, maybe he's just not meshing right now with the team. Or maybe the team isn't meshing with him. But he's a very much a synergistic type of player where if he's playing with somebody who has a similar mindset to him, a similar play, this is what we were talking about with the Overwatch play, right? If he has a person who's playing with him who has a that same gut that he has, they do really, really well. And he's shown to be able to do it really, really well. And you can train it, but eventually people start falling back into their own patterns and their own play styles if they're not playing the same way as Faker or whoever else who does it. So
it's really tough to stay in sync in the competitive game, a competitive team game. Watching the Olympics, you see a lot of coverage of the men's basketball team, especially from the US. They're talking about, you know, all these star athletes coming together, and like they have to actively make choices to touch the ball less because there's more of them, basically. They're all used to getting, you know, the star mentality on their respective team, but here they, like, you know, a team full of stars, they have to make that choice. And then they're competing against people from countries who've been playing together since they were kids. So like, it was interesting to see that level of competition from the U.S. men's Olympic basketball team focus that as a talking point and a pain point or a friction point potentially. And then to see this happen here, like what you're saying, it's hard, you know, and they had some good streak. They had a good run with EWC tournament, but when it coming back in the summer split, the game that they had, it was 0-2 to Gen G, and Gen G is a phenomenal team so far, 14-0. So 14-0 so far this season overall, whereas T1's only going 8-6. So I'm sure that's like, I'm sure that's also part of the frustration he's feeling. Like, you know, it's in his hands, it's in the team's hands, and it's slipping out of grasp. Or like, maybe it was a Violet moment where it's like the miscommunication just like didn't synergize, and like it just kind of slipped away at that moment, and like a thing happened and they felt like it cost them the whole game. Whereas like we're saying, there is a great player, but and there was 7 minutes more in that Overwatch game for them to come back, and they didn't. And that's potentially a thought that's happening here. So like a bit of a drama. You don't want to see that. Something we definitely had to talk about. Nick, any sort of final send-offs or throwaway like you'd like to see before we push into what to expect in LCS?
It's just, you know, in all of these team-based games, like when you're on gray screen, when you're getting caught out, you need to take a step back and you know, I'm not in Faker's head, right? I can't be. I'm absolute trash compared to that guy, like absolute creature compared to him, but you know, it gets to everybody. Like it doesn't matter what game you're playing, right? Like the game's going to get to you. Like it's going to be frustrating because like there's a way that you think the game should be going based on how the game normally gets played. And if that's not happening, as I said before, like you're overthinking it, you have bad moments. Yeah. Like it's bad plays, not bad players for the most part. Like when you're at this like level, like it's like shit talking someone in the NBA. Like, don't do it. They are so much closer to Michael Jordan than you are to like them. It's ridiculous, you know? And that's the same thing for like these pro players in these sports, right? Like, you know, you can flame Baker or Ultraviolet, right? Was the guy who got caught out. Like we can flame them all day.
Yeah.
Violet, sorry, Ultraviolet, my bad.
There's another player, Ultraviolet. No, so there's another player, Ultraviolet. But yeah, go ahead.
Got it. Yeah, no, like so, like you can flame on them like getting caught out, but again, it's like it's them just like thinking too much and probably not having a partner on the team who thinks the same way that they do about the game. Like, because like these situations probably like don't end up in these situations when you have two players who are playing, you know, synergistic, like if they're attached at the hip, you know what I mean? Like if they're watching each other kind of play. Like that's usually
that's usually what?
No, that's usually where like those like is you know, I have a couple buddies that like we've played so many shooter games with each other. Like me and my buddy Chalk, like we're literally like just we're shooting at the same dude. We're doing the exact, like not the exact same thing, but we have the exact same idea on how we're like playing the game. Granted, we're not like the best, right? But like it's more fun that way. You do win a little bit more when people are in unison for the most part.
For sure, especially in the team games and the coordination aspect. And it's tough to see. We definitely don't want that to happen to somebody. And it's definitely like a lot of the points you're touching on. It's something you want to walk away with, even if you're playing conventional sport or playing an esport here. You know, it's bad plays, not a bad player. You know, there's a lot to focus on and not just focus on that. But I think it's time for us to focus into the LCS and what's expecting for the playoffs of the summer split. And we're going to kind of transition over to what we're seeing here. Participating teams like we do in the regular format, these are the LCS teams that we know, but where we are in standings so far.
Yeah, we have we have Saturday and Sunday this week to finish out the standings.
Yeah, looks like NRG and Team Liquid Honda, 100 Thieves and Shopify playing on Saturday, and then Cloud9 and FlyQuest and Dignitas and Immortals playing on Sunday to finalize that. And then, like you see, it's undecided yet. We'll get the finalization of the brackets after this weekend of play. But they're going to be playing for $100,000 in this first place prize pool, $200,000 total split amongst the top 4 teams. What are you thinking, Nick? What are we looking at? I gotta bring up standings real quick, current records while you talk. But yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so like current records right now, when you pull it up, it should be like Team Liquid is 6-0. They've been doing relatively well, keeping everybody at bay, not losing. Right, Cloud9 is at 5-1, FlyQuest is at 5-1. And NRG Kia is at, they're at 2-4. So like the only thing to like look for this weekend, right, is you're watching to see if Team Liquid loses, because if Team Liquid loses, somebody else ties for first place. That's the only, so not even seeding. We're gonna have a tiebreaker.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so like that's going to be like those are the most important matches, is going to be Cloud. And because it's kind of bullshit that nobody else stepped up in this like thing, that we only have 3 teams. So Team Liquid gets to face the 7th place team, I think, or no, the 4th place team, right? They placed the 4th place team, and then said the people tied for 2nd are playing each other, which is, it's probably fine. It's probably better that way. But it's not going to be a close match for Team Liquid unless,
I think the interesting part is more on the bottom end here. Like you said, NRG, Kia, Dignitas, 100 Thieves, they're all 2-4. So like pulling a win out this weekend might shift that up. NRG, I think, is playing Team Liquid, Honda specifically. So basically, this game, if it goes, which schedule-wise, standing-wise already, doesn't look like it would. If it goes in favor of NRG Kia, then you might see a lot of shakeups in 1st and 2nd place, and then a lot of shakeups in like 4th, 5th, 6th place as well. Shopify 100 Thieves also fighting for that 4th place qualifying kind of thing. So you're talking about a lot of different stuff here with just these matches this weekend.
Yeah. So like NRG, if they win, they stay exactly the same. They're in 4th place. If they lose, they're going to 5th place. They're only on 4th or 5th. They're not going to be any higher than that. The top 3 spots are just going to they're only going to remain the same. They're going to remain the same basically unless Team Liquid loses.
Yeah.
Like if Team Liquid loses, that's the only way that we're going to really have a shift. Other than that, we're going to have a deterministic fight between, 2nd and 3rd place right now. And like we get to find out who the 4th person, that's the only thing that's going to happen, right? 100 Thieves and Dignitas can take 4th place. And who are they playing? So like, honestly,
100 Thieves against Shopify and Dignitas against Immortals, it's doable.
I mean, these are if we were to just take standings overall from it, right? Like standings aren't everything, but for the most part, Team Dignitas and 100 Thieves are most likely going to tie for 4th. NRG is going to be 5th, and we're probably going to see. I'm going to say FlyQuest. Probably going to see FlyQuest take 2nd. Team Liquid's still going to be undefeated going into this, and then I don't care about the rest. Is to be completely honest. There's no disrespect. There's just no reason to talk about fighting for 7th place.
Right. It seems like we're playing musical chairs, but the top 3 teams have like their foot chained to the chair already. And so the other teams have to just fight for them and like dance around a little bit.
Yeah. And so, we're going to see, like, this is the end of the split, then we have playoffs. So hopefully there's a tiebreaker to see who gets into I kind of do hope Team Liquid loses so that, somebody can face somebody who's in second or third place can face Team Liquid and fight for the second place spot. Like, I think that that's a really nice narrative to see for before playoffs. And I think that would be awesome instead of going into playoffs as if it's like a cakewalk. Like, well, Team Liquid did it again. They won again, so they're first place, and but
that's a
thing to notice, though, right?
That's a great point. I agree with you on that. Yeah, though I agree with you on that. I just wanted to chime in and say that. If you got more to say, man, you're our League of Legends expert, so I'll let you talk for sure. I'm just going to chime in. I just
want to point something out to you. Do you see how many games that they play? Versus versus Korea. Korea, they're we're 8-6, 6-0. Granted, we're doing best of 3s and everything, but still, it's just funny to me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for that. We're gonna go into playoffs, right? And again, there's only 4 teams in playoffs, right? Yeah. So most likely there's a tiebreaker for 4th and no tiebreaker for 1st. Most likely going to happen. Dignitas 100 Thieves wins. There's a tiebreaker there, right? The crazier thing would happen if Dignitas is going to win, become 3-4 or 100 Thieves. I'd rather have 100 Thieves than Dignitas. Dude, you got Nade Shot in there. You know what I'm saying? Halo 2. No, I'm kidding. Just Halo. But 100 Thieves, we'll say 100 Thieves wins, and we'll say NRG wins, right? This is best case scenario for games, right? Not for time.
Your weekend's fucked.
The timing gets actually messed up because you're going to have a tie for first place, and you're going to have a tie for 4th place. And that would be best case scenario for me. I would really enjoy that. Yeah. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a tie for 4th place, and we're going to know that first place is first, and we're going to find out that FlyQuest is second. That's it. That's the only real. There you go. That's the full thing.
That's the final answer. Yeah, I'm with you as far as the exciting narrative. I'd love to see that. It makes for a better story, a better recap, a better show for us, etc. Maybe our viewers as well. But we got to expect business as usual with the summer split. It seems like these teams have been kind of flat in the LCS specifically. So maybe this will liven them up. So you're saying there's a chance, especially as we go into the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it'll be some fun game regardless. I think everybody should watch FlyQuest versus Cloud9. That one will be really tense. It probably you should probably watch it, but it'll probably be the worst game because of how tense they are. Just in general. But yeah, so that those are the only real things to look out for this bracket, and then we get to go into playoffs the following week. So. Yeah.
A lot's on the line with the playoffs. That's also qualifications for Worlds, right? You earn the points or get the invitation. So it's interesting how then the cascading effect from this weekend could play into something that happens in October, November, right? I believe so. And it all starts. So keep your eye on this. It's going to be exciting to watch. We're going to be doing it. If you don't want to, just check back with us next week because we'll have you covered with everything that happened. Nick, we're about to wrap up. It's been a longer episode because we had to catch up on extra week's worth of information. Thanks for joining me today. Is there anything you want to sort of wrap us up, send us off with before we cut the power?
No, don't type in the games. I always say, just stop typing.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the benefits you could say with definitive purpose. Controllers are better than keyboards because it's so hard to type. But we all know that Xbox lobbies are. Yeah, we all know that Xbox lobbies are trash because of open mics, etc.
Exactly.
But that's it for us here at the Esports Meta. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. unless we're on vacation, talking about esports and other competitive video game news. We'd love to hear from you as well, so be a part of the conversation. Let us know what you think. Jump in on our socials. We're on all of them at the Esports Meta for all the good ones. Definitely not the bad ones. Stay away from those. That's it for us today. Nick, thank you for joining me. It was a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for joining us out in the audience land, out in chat, and we'll see you next time.